Hello viewers and welcome again to Discovering Truth, and I am Pastor Forbes from the Gateway Abiding Word Ministries here in the Gambia. I'll just take the next 3 weeks to just talk about general issues that I think we must take on board as we aim and strive for a better country. There is something about entrepreneurship, there's something about business, and there's something about having this desire, and not inordinately, but just from a sense of determination to want to become better and better and improve upon yourself all the time. And really, we see that in our world, the gadgets we now use and wear on our wrists or hold in our hands are doing so many more things that 30 years ago we would have thought literally impossible. And that's because people were trying to improve upon life, improve upon service delivery, and improve upon livelihood prospects and living as well. And so whenever we share ideas, thoughts, opinions, and biblical precepts, definitely is for us to look at ourselves in the mirror, because the mirrors don't lie, and see the reflection of what we are putting out there, and to be able to decide whether that is good enough for us as people, as institutions, families, and definitely as a country. One of the things that should help us all is that for many things there is already precedence. For many things, there is already mentorship, there is inspiration, there are people who have gone and done maybe what we're trying to do. So sometimes we must be willing to benchmark ourselves by what we already know is out there, and not necessarily tap ourselves on the shoulders thinking that what we're doing is the very first of its kind. Nobody has had that idea. And so from this desire to develop and this striving to become better, we have terms like best practice, the best way to do it. We have terms like benchmark. As I just said, you're able to peg what you do against something that is known continentally, regionally, or even globally. And therefore, if many people are doing it because it's added value, then you want to look at what you can also do to up your game, step up to the plate, and be a part of the betterment of life, and, as I always say, living a decent legacy. So there are a few things that come to mind, and some of them you might laugh at, but they're just things that I've put together as thoughts that I think we should really consider as a people. One of them is the fact that there is no nation on the earth, maybe the hermit kingdoms, maybe places that appear to be locked up like North Korea, but generally the generality of the nations of the world are such that for prosperity, for progress, for advancement, for economic development, it can never be said that it's only the indigene that made it work. In fact, there are some nations that are just literally a gathering of countries, people from other countries that made up that nation. Some other nations, unfortunately, have been brazenly enough to even push aside the original settlers there. And, history and geography tells us about Columbus and Mongopag and people like that who literally came and found people doing their things and found governance structures in place and changed it. But suffice to say that no nation, no institution can just be so inward looking and so introvertish to the point that maybe they begin to exude xenophobic tendencies, anti-foreign tendencies. So it's important that we know that there's always going to be some sort of synergy, either in business, sometimes in relationships, in marriage, around the world. There are people who have 2, 3 passports, born in Sweden, to a father who is Gambian, so they have Swedish passport, Gambian passport. They went in to school in the United Kingdom or America. And each country whose nationality and papers they have legally are countries that they are bona fide citizens of. And ours is not an exception. We cannot try to be so insular, because while we might want to have those kind of tendencies, and I hope not, we have to remember that we also as Gambians have nationalities in other countries, and we work for other countries, and other countries have done as well. So a non-Gambian must not come to work here and feel threatened, feel that they can be bullied, feel that nothing good will come for them either way. And so we have this phrase called nyak. I don't know what it originally means, but descriptively, it's what in the olden days they used to say JJC or JC, or the African Americans would say Johnny come lately. JC, the Sierra Leoneans in Aku would say just come. JJC is Johnny just come. That means you are new to the system. You are new to the place. You are not originally one of us. You are a nyak. I don't think in any country where people are labeled like that, that would be nice. We must be welcoming to people so that together we can grow and cross-pollinate in such a way that what they have, they can add value to us, and what we have, we can add value to them as well. So we must be welcoming, and not just welcoming by ratifications in meetings that go on forever and things are signed and photographs are taken and communiques are handed one to another and camera flashes are going click, click, click. And then when it comes to implementation, nothing happens. That must not happen. And for us, certainly as an ECOWAS region, that should not even be happening. Not to talk on the African Union level, where we have to struggle for visas for an African country. And if that is true, then we really cannot even open our mouths to blame other continents, because within our own selves, we are not welcoming to one another. And somebody will say, yes, the reasons are there's crime, there's all kinds of things. Well, that's human beings for you. And the truth of the matter is, there is a very interesting Bible verse in the 2nd book of Corinthians in the New Testament and the 10th chapter. So 2 Corinthians chapter 10 from verse 3 to verse 6. Towards the end, it says this: being in readiness to avenge every disobedience when your own obedience has been completed. In other words, before you throw the stone, just make sure that your house is not glass. So the idea of people being called nyak, I think we should downplay it, because people don't know. I think 2 years ago, I had my personal shock of it, because a Gambian lady wanted some training in public speaking and was calling from outside the country and was speaking to me, and I was speaking to her, and we started chatting in Wolof, and my little Wolof, as you know, and she froze and said, "Are you a Gambian?" I said, "Of course." And she said, "Are you not the one that used to be on TV?" I said, "I am still on TV." By then it was 26 years. Now it's 28 and a half years. So in a year and a half, in June 2026, Discovering Truth would have been 13 years old non-stop. 30 years. And she said to me, "But I asked somebody and they said you're a nyak." And I laughed. I said, "Me, a nyak, I'm a Dipakunda boy," you know. And that she said, "Yeah, but you know," they said that some people just taught you all of here and there, but you're a nyak. But even if I were, so what? Ladies and gentlemen, just think of yourself. Would you like to go to a place where you are characterized, labeled, misrepresented, even mischaracterized, and therefore your prospects are limited because the people are not welcoming, even though exteriorly and externally it looks like we are very welcoming. So if we have a name called the Smiling Coast and we are known to be very welcoming, that should come across everything that we do, even if a yak comes. So let's downplay that term, because we have many issues we are dealing with globally, continentally, racism, and then we're now coming to tribal issues, religious issues. We cannot be caging people in boxes. Already that goes on a lot in the whole medical sphere, where somebody can just give you a label, and that label characterizes your life forever, and they give you medication that is not just going to help you, but it's just going to carry you down. So let's do away with that term as much as we can. The other thing I want to talk about is, what would you think of a man or a woman, a parent, a father, a mother, especially biological father, mother, or maybe even a foster mother, foster father, who was consistently carving out the children's future in terms of wasting resources that should be kept for the children? Let me use the African English: chopping their children's money, chopping their children's school fees, chopping their children, chopping the house rent, chopping everything. Such a person would be seen as irresponsible, mean, greedy, and literally very wicked. At the very least, patronizing, but really dishonest. Ladies and gentlemen, here comes truth. With all the desire we want for our country, and with all the goodwill that people can come with, if we really do not have true love of country and love for country and the fear of Almighty God, we will just be like a nation in free fall, on a spiral down, autopilot going nowhere. There are nations, a few of them like us, by size, by demographics, by topography, who have been able to turn around what seems to be a challenge and turn it around to an advantage. You know, I can't help but take note that in the US elections going on today, you would note that last week somebody made a comment about garbage people and garbage, describing people as garbage. And instead of people ranting and fighting and going to court and feeling depressed and feeling moody and getting mental health challenges, they turned it around. The people that were being addressed as garbage turned it around, found garbage trucks, and used it to their advantage. What am I saying? There is also a verse in the Bible. It's in the Psalms, Psalms. Psalms, I believe it's Psalm 84. Somewhere there, it says, blessed are the people, or blessed, empowered, favored, are those people who, when going through what is called the valley of Baca, a difficult situation, they are able to turn it around into a wellspring of life. And so when we look at the size of our country, when we look at the geography, when we look at the topography, when we look at everything, no matter how many books have been written, and sometimes when people say you're not going to amount to anything, I think that should become your galvanizing energy. So somebody wrote a book called The Birth of an Improbable Nation. And we're supposed to, and still are supposed to, say, hey, mister, you are wrong. And I think I've mentioned this many times on this program about a billionaire called Peter J. Daniels, Australian, who I think went to school when he was about 26 or learned the alphabet when he was 26, and his teacher used to telling Peter, you are a blockhead, you will never amount to anything, da. So when he became a millionaire and he wrote his first book, and you can find it on Amazon.com, you can Google it anywhere, he entitled the book, Miss Phillips, You Were Wrong. That's the title of the book. Miss Phillips was the teacher. And so when we look at the things that define us, if we as a people together come together as a people, as a country, with honesty, with the fear of God, with discipline, with love for one another, with the desire to see somebody excel because their success and prosperity also rubs on us and makes us look good. If we have that, then we'll turn things around. So the free fall, the seeming autopilot, the rhetoric, the anger, the things that really make you worry, that you can price an item in the morning, especially if it has a dollar value, and if you want to buy it the next day, the price has changed. And somebody will say, oh, market forces, supply chain. We have preset answers to all these things. No, it means we must come together, those who know what to do, those who have been tasked with what to do, and those who lead us must sit down and speak truth to themselves and curb this. If not, sadly, it will go to whatever is its logical conclusion. Whatever. And so, if people are characterized by greed, dishonesty, bad leadership, patronage, and instead of seeing things as they are, we airbrush, we sugarcoat, we do ostrich mentality, it's not going to help us. We are just postponing the inevitable day. So we need to, at every level, we can have as many commissions as we want. If there is no implementation, then there is no transformation. I repeat, if there is no implementation, there is no transformation. So what we need to look at is the root causes of the things that are happening. Almost every day, every other day, is either murder, theft, drugs, some unthinkable things. How many court cases are we going to have? How many commissions are we going to have for a population of 2.4 million? And how many are active in this area? Who knows? Maybe 500,000. Put everybody together. So we have to be able to clip the hemorrhaging points and be truthful to ourselves. Because, ladies and gentlemen, there is a couple in the Bible. Husband was one of the many kings, and not a good one. His name was Ahab, and he married a woman whose name was Jezebel. The name itself scares you, Jezebel. King Ahab became so greedy that even though he had had many things, he still wanted one man's vineyard called Naboth. So he asked Naboth for the vineyard. Naboth said, no, it's mine. Maybe it's a family inheritance. It's an heirloom. You are king. You have everything else. I won't give it to you. And the Bible tells us that this King Ahab went home and sulked. And his evil wife didn't ask him what is wrong to help him. She stoked the fire in him. She literally disdained him. Are you not king in Israel? You are sulking here. This man has something, you can't take it from him. Kill this man and take it. That was Jezebel's counsel to her husband. So the next day or a few days after, they went and they actually killed Naboth and took his vineyard. 3 things I want to say. Number 1, while Naboth was alive, the vineyard was still his. And only cowards kill you to take something. And the laws of divine principles are such that what you steal, you never enjoy. So the second thing is that one day there was a war going on and King Ahab was killed. The vineyard was still there. And while things were happening, his wife Jezebel came from the balcony and was speaking. And a prophet said, "Is there anybody around this woman?" They said yes. And he said, "Throw her down so that the dogs will eat of her flesh and drink her blood." Because that was the prophecy of the answer of their greed when they're dishonest. When they threw her down, she died. And the dogs came, ate her flesh, licked her blood. And the vineyard was still there. Ladies and gentlemen, look around the world. From couples who had, the wife had 3,000 pairs of shoes, where are they today? Look around the world. For people who had 140-something properties, where are they today? Look around the world. For people who built mansions, Mobutu Sese Seko, all kind of Idi Amin, the list is long. And we are not exempt from it. And we are not learning from that. Because they are divine principles. When you take from people and you impoverish them, their cry and their sigh and their inability to come back, but they are crying and they are sighing and they are groaning to the Almighty God. He hears it. It's the same thing for the poor, the widowed, the orphaned, the foreigner, the disenfranchised. The Bible protects them. And God visits in his sore displeasure on all who do that. We do not want that. The question is, are we in that direction? I'm going to stop here because I have other things to do. This is part 1. We're going to talk about many other things, the word of truth. We're going to talk about other things. But just think about these 2 things, how we treat people who are not from us, and we call them nyak. I think we should downplay that and let it go. Because a lot of these things start as small, like tribalism, and then it becomes big. It becomes too late to handle. Secondly, the greed, the dishonesty, the patronage, the literal greed and corruption. We have to stop it. If not, it will come to its logical conclusion, whatever that conclusion is. You know, as an uncle, my mom always used to tell us at home when we want to take food and more, she would say, "Get conscience." And we used to laugh at that. And that's true. And let me say it to people like that, get conscience. I'm in the hell. If somebody was wicked, you wouldn't have seen it. They would have eaten it. So let's be fair to ourselves. I want to stop here, and by the grace of God, until I come your way next week, we're going to continue. But please remember, join us tomorrow at the Gateway. Destiny 2024 starts 6:45 in the evening, all the way to Sunday. We have a great package ready for you tomorrow evening, and then Thursday morning, Thursday evening, Friday morning, Friday evening, Saturday evening, Sunday evening for the great finale. And we're going to have a great time of ministry. God bless you, and I'll see you in part 2. So you say, "Pastor, what is this called?" It's just called This and That. This and That. See you in part 2 for This and That.
Discover